Well, thanks for staying with us here on Morning Live. The Public Service Commission has released its quarterly bulletin titled The Pulse of the Public Service for the period 1 January to 31 March 2022. Now, in the report, the PSC says that it has recorded over 700,000 calls reporting alleged corruption in the public sector as of the 31st of March 2022. And it has once again reiterated that ethical leadership will go a long way in helping resolve governance issues at public institutions, which of course include municipalities. Anele Gxoyiya is a commissioner at the Public Service Commission, and he joins us now for a little bit more discussion on this report. Mr. Gxoyiya, thanks for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you very much, Sakina. Good morning to you and good morning to the viewers of Morning Live.
So from the side of the Public Service Commission, Mr. Gxoyiya, what have you identified in this quarterly report as the main issues that stand out for you?
Yes, thank you very much, Sakina. Maybe just a brief background to say that the pulse of the public service, which is our quarterly news bulletin, is a way in which we account to the public about the work that we are doing as the Public Service Commission. And we do it on a quarterly basis. So the current publication focuses on the first quarter of this year, which started on the 1st of January up to the 31st of March. And we looked at 4 different areas that we spoke about. We looked at South Africa's response towards the COVID-19, and we also looked at the investigative analysis into the performance of the Commission on Land, on the restitution of land rights, as well as the non-payment of service providers by government, which is also a serious issue that needs to be addressed. And also, we then looked at the overall number of grievances and complaints that are submitted to the Public Service Commission. So those are the 4 areas that we looked at, Sakina, in this publication.
So let's try and take a little bit of a deep dive, maybe not too deep, but some of the issues, Mr. Gxoyiya. A constant complaint against public service is, of course, the non-payment of government suppliers on time, as you've just pointed out. And this is something we've heard of, we've spoken of time and time again. Why do you believe that we are not seeing any significant improvement if suppliers are still complaining?
Sakina, our view is that we will be able to see an urgent move once government departments start taking action against the officials that are concerned in relation to officials that are concerned in relation to service delivery, because this happens at supply chain, from the lowest levels of supply chain up to the level of the accounting officers. But we don't see them taking stern action against those people who withhold invoices, because some of the invoices are withheld because these officials want the service providers to pay them in order to process the payments for the work that has been done. The other challenge that we have also realized is that when there is a change of management, the incoming management, especially at the level of the accounting officers, when they come in, they don't want to process payments for contracts that were signed when they were not there. They want to first investigate the origins of the contracts and why the contracts were taken. Stating is that a contract has been entered into between the department and the parties concerned, and therefore just pay the service providers so that they can be able to continue to render services. So we are saying, as soon as government takes action and makes the point that those officials that are found guilty of delaying these payments are punished accordingly, because this affects especially SME. We know of businesses that had to close down because SMMEs could no longer manage to continue. In fact, if you look at this, it's just a perpetuation of the past where certain service providers were advantaged over the others. So people are played out of the game through non-payment so that they are unable to pay for their tax clearances, they are unable to pay their debtors and their creditors, sorry, so that in that process, the businesses will just collapse. So we are saying government must take stern action.
Mr. Gxoyiya, that's not going to help us. It's not going to get us anywhere because we've been saying this. Is there anything that could be done outside of the current parameters that these particular issues play out in to actually make sure that businesses don't go under, people are paid on time? Because as you say, part of the problem is that there's a corruption element involved in this where sometimes people are waiting for a bribe in order to pay an invoice.
Look, what we have resolved as the Public Service Commission is that from now on, we need to be hands-on. We need to make sure that we go into these departments and we investigate where the problems are. We follow the invoices. Hence, we are saying we're calling on SMMEs in all 9 provinces. If anyone has not been paid within 30 days, please contact the Office of the Public Service Commission so that we can know the names of the businesses that have delivered services, and we are able to follow up to say this business has rendered this service on that particular date. They have submitted an invoice on this date, but they have not been paid up until now. If we're able to get those people submitting their names to us as the Public Service Commission so that we can take them up, we go physically to those departments, we follow those invoices, we see where they are stuck. And where they are stuck, we are able to then hold the accounting officers accountable for the non-payment. If the invoices are stuck with the accounting officer, it is our responsibility to approach the executive authority to take action against that particular accounting officer who has not been processing invoices. So that's what we want to do now. That's what we are calling people to do. They must come and report to the offices of the Public Service Commission. All 9 provinces have got offices. We also have our head office here in Pretoria.
You also mentioned, Mr. Gxoyiya, the country's response to the COVID-19 pandemic in the report. Now, apart from corruption that's already endemic in the public domain, just one of the things that jumped out of me in this report was the fact that when it came to SASSA food parcels, for example, only those parcels reached only 12% of the people who were eligible to receive them. So let's talk about that and more broadly about the COVID-19 response and the relief efforts around it.
Look, our observation was that people who are living in rural areas and peri-urban areas were the most disadvantaged. People who benefited mostly are those people who are living in urban areas, because there was just a lull in terms of making sure that those food parcels are transported to those people. And also, like you are saying, the issues of corruption also come in here, where some of the beneficiaries did not receive their food parcels. But if you look in terms of the books of SASSA, you would find out that the food parcels went out, but who they went to becomes mysterious. So it's a matter that also needs to be looked at, and there needs to be an improvement. But most importantly, what we are advising as the Public Service Commission is that government needs to start establishing a disaster fund, because COVID-19, as well as the floods that attacked KZN, parts of the Eastern Cape, parts of the Free State, and parts of the Northwest. Also, the response was not prompt because the resources are not there. We understand that we are in a serious financial crisis, but we think that there needs to be a fund that is set aside to ensure that when the disaster strikes or when a pandemic attacks us, at least government is able to respond instead of having to redirect funds from one program to the other. So that's what basically is our advice in terms of the report.
Mr. Gxoyiya, there's so much more contained in this report, but we are unfortunately out of time. In a minute or less, can you please tell us, from the PSC's perspective, what needs to be done in order to improve governance and the processes in the public sector?
Look, we need to invest much on ethics training to teach people about ethics. But also we need to make sure that in every department there is an ethics officer whose responsibility is to see that all members of the public service work within the ethics as contained in the Constitution. And also we need to make sure that we advocate ethical behavior for an ethical developmental state. We need to make sure that all public servants share the vision of our government in ensuring that we improve the lives of the people. So I think that is what needs to happen moving forward, and that's what we will advocate for as the Public Service Commission.
Thanks so much for your time this morning, Mr. Anele Gxoyiya, who is Commissioner at the Public Service Commission, just speaking to us about some of the findings of their quarterly report, taking a look and feeling the pulse of the public sector. With that, it's time for